Let's take a look briefly at the biology of Culex fasciatus, or the southern house mosquito, considered to be the primary vector of West Nile virus in the North Texas area. Culex fasciatus is a standing water mosquito or a container breeding mosquito. Has complete metamorphosis, egg, larvae, pupae, and adult. Has a mobile pupal stage, travels throughout the water column. Adult females feed on blood, males feed on pollen and nectar. Female mosquito takes blood meal in order to have the protein to develop the eggs, which she lays. The top slide shows the single eggs of a floodwater mosquito. Bottom slide shows the egg raft of a Culex mosquito. Those eggs hatch in approximately 24 hours into larvae. First through the fourth instars, all aquatic, feeding throughout the water column, mobile. You see the siphon tube that actually penetrates the surface tension of the water, allowing the larva to respire. Fifth instar of the larvae molts into the pupal case. Pupae is unique in that it is mobile throughout the water. Most insects have a sedentary pupal case like a cocoon for a butterfly or a moth, but that pupal case, while non-feeding, is able to travel through the water so that as the water evaporates, the pupae doesn't become stranded somewhere. That pupae then emerges into the adult, which then begins the cycle all over again. Southern house mosquito habits prefer to feed primarily on birds, and so while birds go to roost at dusk and fly away from roost early in the morning around daylight, the mosquito begins feeding at dusk and returns to the harborage shortly after dawn while the birds are gone. The mosquito leaves the harborage and flies up into the trees to feed on the birds while at roost, and then drops back down when daylight comes, and this is when humans are most likely to be bitten by the mosquito, while the mosquito is traveling up to roost trees and then traveling back down from the roost trees. Where in the cycle is West Nile virus introduced? West Nile virus is harbored in approximately 250 species of wild birds, probably more, but the main reservoir in this area are English house sparrow and mourning doves. The female flies up into the roost, feeds on virus-positive birds. She becomes infected, and then that female mosquito is positive for disease until the day that she dies, which with our mild winters here in North Texas, she very well may overwinter and be one of the early individuals the next season to begin the amplification of the disease the next season. But in the case of North Texas, we have resident bird populations, so the disease very rarely leaves the area over the winters, either harboring in the birds or in the adult mosquitoes over the winter months. Here's a slide of the arbovirus transmission cycle. Of course, the English house sparrow was chosen as the vertebrate host very appropriately. As that mosquito bites that infected bird, she then becomes infected so that any other bird that she bites becomes infected and continues the cycle throughout. Occasionally, by accident, she may bite a human being or a horse, thus infecting them with West Nile virus or equine encephalitis. Of course, weather and climate directly affect both the population of the vertebrate host, in this case the birds, and of the vectors themselves. And since we have weather and climatic conditions that affect both of those populations, it in turn affects the amplification of the virus and the rapidity with which the virus amplifies. And then below there we have the cycle of the mosquitoes, the adult and the egg cycles, of course, the terrestrial phase, and the pupae and the larvae are the aquatic phase. Weather and climate also directly affect that life cycle, as do the limiting factor of food, space, and the availability of breeding sites. So what are the specific challenges related to the biology of Culex fasciatus? They are considered to be a neighborhood breeder. The picture on the left shows larval pool along a street curb. Most of the time these pools dry up along a curb, but this one happens to be recharged every night by the irrigation water. And it was shaded by a tree, and so thus it became a rather great source for larval development throughout the summer months. This pool stayed intact for about 2 months straight. Standing water anywhere, whether it be in a spare tire, a potted plant saucer, a wheelbarrow in the backyard, a boat in the backyard, any water that is allowed to stagnate can breed mosquitoes. This little mosquito will take advantage of almost any pocket of water that she can find that is allowed to set for 3 to 5 days during the hot months of the summer. A generation of mosquitoes can come off in as little as 3 days. During the cooler months of the year, 7 to 10 days. Since we have a neighborhood breeder, flight range is 400 to 500 yards. If an 8 to 10 mile an hour breeze catches her and she flies on that breeze, she may disperse further than that. But since we have a neighborhood breeder, one backyard with a problem can affect everyone else within a 4 to 5 house radius. Code enforcement issues such as spas, green pools, neglected boats, things of that nature, and just simple homeowner education items such as buckets that need to be emptied out or landscape drains that need to be treated with over-the-counter larvicides. Homeowner education is a critical part of this because code enforcement does not know about all of the issues that exist in everyone's backyards. Effective mosquito response relies on a few things, but most importantly it relies on a West Nile virus response plan that has been adopted within that municipality. This makes sure that all the control actions by contractors or by the city employees themselves are all coordinated, and that all the municipal staff has been educated or trained so that if a citizen approaches them asking questions about mosquito control, you have a uniform response that is presented to the public. The biology of this particular mosquito is fairly simple to understand and fairly easy to train. The breeding sites are easy to locate, and questions about such breeding sites are easy to answer for the public so long as the proper training has been made available. Public education initiatives, dedicated web pages on the city web page, a dedicated mosquito site, public education events, town hall events, and something else that has been very successful is a dedicated citizen reporting line, a 1-800 number or an email address that flows through to the proper department that can get some remediation action addressed towards the complaint areas as quickly as possible, which leads to the empowerment of the code enforcement in order to quickly larvicide these areas, take care of the issues, and know when proper surveillance needs to be brought into an area to determine whether or not positive disease is in that area. So again, this is a quick overview of the biology of the Culex fasciatus, or the southern house mosquito that is responsible for the vectoring of West Nile virus disease in North Texas.